Hello and welcome to Metro News and Breaker 100.5 FM. I am Waving Well. The Nigerian Senate has called on the federal government to intensify efforts to rescue 416 women, children, and elderly persons who have been held captive by Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State since March 30, 2026. The call comes amid renewed concerns over escalating attacks on military formations in the northeast, which have resulted in the death of 17 military personnel, including Brigadier General Sene Bramo. Lawmakers also demanded a comprehensive investigation into the attacks, as well as allegations of civilian casualties during military operations. The development follows the release of a video by Boko Haram terrorists in which they threatened the Nigerian government against attempting a forceful rescue of the abducted victims. The incident warned that failure to meet their demands within 72 hours could lead to the victims being dispersed. In another development, the Senate has named Senator representing Anambra North Tony Nwoye as a new minority whip. His appointment follows the defection of the former minority whip, Senator Osita Ngwu, from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress. Nwoye's nomination was endorsed in a letter signed by all minority senators in the upper chamber. Nwoye was among the most vocal lawmakers during the period the position became vacant, especially following disagreements over the earlier nomination process, which led to tensions with the Senate leadership after a court ruling affected the initial occupant of the office. Now, the Nigerian government says it spends about $150 million annually on vaccine procurement as it intensifies efforts to scale up immunization coverage across the country. This was made known by the executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Muyaina, during the agency's quarterly media briefing for 2026 in Abuja.
The Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Muyi Aino, says the funding supports not just vaccines, but all the logistic issues. He noted that while development partners, including Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to support Nigeria, donor funding is gradually declining, making increased domestic financing critical. For the malaria vaccination, the agency has expanded its rollout from pilot states Bayelsa and Kebbi to include Bauchi and Ondo following readiness assessment.
Vaccines in particular are known to be particularly safe. Much safer than the average medicine that you take. Well, cost. It will be more affordable than if you have to
things before business.
Beyond immunization, the agency reported over 48,000 women have access to international services nationwide, while nearly over 4,000 women have benefited from obstetric fistula repairs.
And as you become wealthier as a country, you are able to spend more on health. As you are able to spend more on health, you are able to spend more on vaccines. And naturally, we will expand to cover more diseases.
Dr. Aina described vaccines as one of the safest and most cost-effective tools for preventing diseases such as measles, noting that their effectiveness often reduces the visibility of such illnesses in communities.
Now, a factional chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Kabiru Turaki, was today arraigned before the Federal High Court, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, over an allegation of providing false information to the Inspector General of Police. Turaki, who was brought before Justice Peter Kekemeke on a one-count charge, pleaded not guilty after the charge was read to him in court. Following his plea, his counsel, Abdulaziz Ibrahim, informed the court that the defendant had filed three separate applications but sought to withdraw two of them. The court subsequently struck out the withdrawal applications. The matter was adjourned until June 11 for hearing. According to the charge, Turaki allegedly submitted false information to the IGP through a petition written on his letterhead and dated October 5th, 2022. Now, Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to youth empowerment and self-reliance. The governor made the assurance in Lafia during the graduation ceremony of 200 trainees in 9 different skill areas at the Wing Commander Abdullahi Ibrahim Vocational and Technological Institute. The training program is sponsored by the Nasarawa State Government in partnership with the African Union Development Agency, the technical implementation arm of the African Union, which was established to coordinate regional projects, promote economic integration, and accelerate the realization of Agenda 2063, aimed at eradicating poverty across Africa. Governor Sulewu noted that the state government remains open to supporting initiatives from corporate organizations and individuals that promote self-reliance among citizens, commended the graduates for their dedication and urged them to apply the skills acquired to become employees of labor rather than job seekers. Now, Kaduna State Commissioner for Justice Dr. James Kanye says the state's new tax law will not adversely affect low-income earners and small businesses, but will instead strengthen the economy. It made this known at the Kaduna State Internal Revenue Service during the first quarter stakeholders engagement in Kaduna. Ray Powers, Abimaja Moses, completes the report.
The stakeholders' engagement brought together representatives from various sectors to discuss the provisions of the new tax law, its impact on business and individuals, and strategies for compliance. The law, recently signed by Governor Uba Sani, aims to boost revenue generation and enhance financial accountability in the state. Dr. James Kanye explained that the reform is designed to create a fair and efficient tax system while supporting economic growth.
The idea of this is ensure that those who are impoverished are not taxed, and those who are very wealthy are also taxed commensurately.
What I'm saying
So
is
it's a
you
balance
being not
between
aware, they can read your lips. Like,
poor
I
and
can't
the
sleep, just don't
The
know their
Executive Chairman
screaming.
of CADIL, Jerry Adams, represented by the Executive Director of Revenue Operations, Mohammed Lawal,
But
said
you're
the
doing
state
good,
government
okay,
is
you're
committed
doing
to
good.
channeling internally generated revenue into development projects.
The essence of the engagement is to have very constructive conversations and discuss issues that are important to tax administration.
Kaduna has changed based on the revenue that we're generating. There's not any local government that you will not see the handwork of the government of Kaduna State.
He urged residents and business owners to comply with the new tax framework, assuring that the service remains focused on improving revenue collection and delivering better public services.
You're still listening to Metro News on Brave Power 100.5 FM. More stories after the break.
As the news drops, it breaks with us. Join us for news on the hour every hour. News desk at 12 noon, Metro News at 4 p.m. Enjoy infotainment, breaking and sports news at their best 24/7.
This is Ray Power FM News.
Welcome back. The Trump administration is in talks with the Democratic Republic of Congo to settle 1,100 Afghans who have been stranded in Qatar, waiting U.S. visas, according to an advocacy agency that works on their behalf. The discussions underscore the legal hurdles facing Afghans who fled the Taliban after U.S. immigrants and visa processing for Afghan nationals was effectively altered, leaving them in limbo more than 4 years after the U.S. withdrawal from Kabul. Sean Van Diva, founder and president of Afghan Airvok, a coalition of veterans and advocacy groups, told Reuters that U.S. officials had briefed him about the plan to resettle the Afghans in Congo, which he described as unacceptable, partly because of chronic insecurity in the Central African country. The Afghans are housed at camp as Sailia, a former U.S. Army base in Qatar, where they were transferred to complete immigration visa processing for entry into the United States. Some are relatives of U.S. citizens or worked for a U.S.-funded organization during the 20-year war. Ukraine says it has resumed pumping Russian oil through a pipeline into Hungary and Slovakia, bringing to an end a month of deadlock over a 90 billion euro loan seen as a vital European Union support for Kyiv. Soon afterwards, EU ambassadors meeting in Cyprus gave preliminary approval to the loan, as well as a 20th package of sanctions on Russia, officials said. EU leaders will sign it off at an informal summit on Thursday. Although the funding was agreed last December, Hungary's Viktor Orban slapped a veto on the payment in February after Ukraine said damage caused by the Ukrainian attack had brought suppliers to a halt.
And now a business update from Ray Power 100 FM.
Now to business. The Central Bank of Nigeria has warned the members of the public about the circulation of fraudulent messages and links designed to gain access to personal bank accounts. The warning was contained in a press release dated April 21, 2026 and issued by the Apex Bank's Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Akama Sidi Ali, and released today. The alert comes amid aimed at what appears following the recent disruption at the Corporate Affairs Commission, which temporarily shut down the online portal between April 17 and April 20. The Apex Bank said the fraudulent actors are circulating deceptive emails and online messages falsely claiming to originate from or be associated with the institutions with the aim of misleading the public and comprising personal data.
This is entertainment news on Ray Power 100.5 FM.
Actress Eni Dima Okoje announced she's expecting a first child, calling the moment a profound miracle and an answer to years of quiet grace. In a social media post, the 35-year-old star shared that her heart is now filled with a love she had never known before. She spoke of God's goodness, perfect timing, and intentional kindness, noting that her body is changing and that her life will never be the same. Fighting with My Family, with the 2019 film starring Florence Pugh and Dwayne Johnson, is being abducted as a stage musical, producers have confirmed. The film followed the true story of British pro wrestler Saraya Knight, known in the ring as Paige, as she built her career and made her way to WWE. Johnson, whose own production company is collaborating on the musical, said the story feels exceptionally well suited for the stage.
Ray Power Sport.
The German Football Association has rejected Hamburg SV's appeal and confirmed a 2-match suspension for winger Philipp Otele following his sending off in the North Derby defeat to Werder Bremen. In a ruling announced on Tuesday, the DFB upheld the original decision, meaning Otele will miss league features against Hoffenheim on April 25th and Eintracht Frankfurt on May 2nd. The governing body cited rough play against an opponent as the basis for the sanction, with the sports court maintaining its stand despite a review hearing requested by HSV. Captain James Tavernier will leave Rangers at the end of the session after 11 years at Ibrox. The 34-year-old said on Instagram, departing at the end of his current deal haven't been an easy decision. The Englishman added that this isn't the end just yet, without confirming where he would be next season.
Ray Power weather.
Isolated thunderstorms are expected over Benue, Niger, Nasarawa, Kogi, Kwara, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. Now the last line, according to an African proverb, if you have pride, you will have no room for wisdom. That's it for the Metro News, as produced by Eni Ocheme. I am Oyebimpe Wealth. You can listen to us online on Radio Garden, online radio box, and tunein.com at Raypower 100.5 FM Abuja. Join us at 6 p.m. for our next bulletin, Nigeria Today, for news across the nation. Good evening.
Providing 360 degrees of information and